Hey, welcome to table 58. I'm Sarah. This isn't Marissa. This is Sarah. Again, Marissa's on the road, traveling for work. So Godspeed, Marissa. And we'll see you when you get back. So Sarah G from Maine is kicking back and chewing the fat for this
Yes.
table 58. And just a little thing. Uh, no matter how we might appear, there's no script for this whatsoever. No matter what happens, we are both very, very sober. We're both engaged in the program. The info and links to the program that we follow are in the channel information, the about section, and they're in the description in this vid. But we're not here to represent any particular organisation or anything. We're literally just kicking back, having a chat, and we'll talk about anything and everything. The one thing we won't talk about is what happens inside meetings, because you just don't do that. Plus, it's really something that each person needs to experience for themselves. So, but apart from that, there's nothing that's off limits. If anything, like talking about God, tears, swearing, anything like that is likely to offend you, then this is just a bit of fair warning that that might happen. We're not overly worried about subscriber numbers or view counts or anything like that, but we do care about you and we'd love to hear your comments, your input under this video. Or you can email pods@table58.org if you have any questions or you just want to get in touch, or anything that you'd like us to discuss in future episodes. You can also find an audio only version, so really low data if you're not in a good connection area, on Telegram. That's t.me/table58. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're so glad you're here. We are. So, Sarah, hello, we get to chat.
Yes. Hello, Sarah. Bonjour, Sarah.
So,
Hola, Sarah.
just to introduce you, you're in, I'm in, say, Southwest France. You're in Lewiston, Maine. And
Yes.
so tell me how the weather is over there.
Yes, this is Lewiston, Maine, otherwise known as Maine is known as Vacation Land or the Pine Tree State. And fun fact, they recently made everyone, it's slow in a slow rollout, but I'm seeing more and more of them. They made everyone change over to a new license plate. There used to be a lot of variations. There was the lobster, there was the lighthouse. There was I had the one with the chickadee. Now everyone's changed over to a rather, in my opinion, humble opinion, a very boring plate that just has a pine tree and then your letters and numbers. And everyone's gonna be forced to do it. It was a thing that they are doing. So, but the
Really?
weather here is, it's quite overcast. It's a bit on the rainy side, about 40, but 42 degrees. So it's actually not bad. Not bad at all here.
So, in my language, I think that's about 6 or 7.
Yeah, so 42 minus 30 is 12, divided by 2 is what, 6? So,
Mm.
look, I got
Yeah,
it.
look at
Working on my Celsius conversion.
that.
Excellent.
Yeah, nice. Well, what me and Marissa have been kind of riffing on for the last few days is this the topic of priorities.
Mm.
So I thought that might be interesting to talk about today. It's like how do we, what are they for a
Hmm.
start? You know, um, how do we choose them? This is the one that I would like to know, because from my point of view, the it's like it's kind of a bit like the higher power thing. There's a real freedom in saying, choose your own higher power,
Right.
you know. But from I'm the kind of person that likes to be told what to do. I love receiving orders. Just give me an order. I'm like a beta, or I think it's a Bravo or a Delta, in kind of like a work way. I like
Mhm.
somebody. I don't like to be the person in charge. I like somebody to tell me what to do, and then I'll do it. I'll do it, to the best of my ability. So when it's kind of like uh uh, I know one of Marissa's things was kind of, you choose your own higher power, and it's like, well,
Sure.
no, just give me the correct answer. Just give me the correct answer. What should I prioritize in my life? Just tell me, just tell me the answer. And I'm getting the idea that it doesn't really work like that. It's more like it's a very personal thing, and we have to decide our own priorities. So the responsibility for that is kind of back with us. And yeah, I won't get too deep into it right now, but I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's okay if I just sort of share
Yeah,
it when kind of to
go for
springboard off of what you said. I mean, for me, I don't want to get too textbooky about it or like, Merriam-Webster-ish, but when I think of priorities, I think most often in today's world, no matter where you go in this world, if someone says you need to prioritize this, that doesn't sound like a suggestion. It's more like, I need this done ASAP, stat, yesterday, whatever, and I do feel it's very much a cultural thing, except, of course, when you go to some countries, everyone's very much living in the moment and the way of life is much slower and calmer. And I've yet to visit any of those countries, but I would like to do that at some point. Oftentimes, people don't get to experience a day-to-day feeling of non-prioritization because unless they go on a vacation and they're very intentional about it. And even when they do that, I often hear people say, what I did was I made an itinerary of a list of things this long I wanted to do whenever I got to where I was going, that I forgot to just sit back and breathe and you know, go to the beach for the sunrise or, hike that high mountain and make sure you're there as the sun set. You know what I mean? So I think culturally, no matter whether you're here in America or over where you are in France or Europe or wherever, I feel like it's another piece of the human condition that when someone tells us this is a priority, we don't feel like it's a suggestion. It's like it's a command. Um, and you know how my crazy multimedia brain works, right? Like I'm seeing, I recently got a package in the mail and it was sent priority mail, right? So meaning this person or whoever, somebody paid an amount of money for this package to be delivered by a certain, you know what I mean? So to me, it's that sense of urgency, right? It's a sense of urgency. But when I think about it with recovery, and of course, we're each sharing about our own individual journeys. And I know Marissa, I would love to have at some point, if it's possible, the trio here, to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. But I agree with her that we come in here and it is so difficult, and you just alluded to it, when we are broken, and people out there in the world struggle with all kinds of addictions, and then at some point or another, hopefully, find they've reached a point of no return and that gift of desperation, and they're like, okay, I know I want to change my life. Now, as you just said, tell me what to do.
it.
Just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Like give me a little list of things, just like, and I know I'll get better. But the problem is that it doesn't it doesn't work, that you can't have cookie cutter sobriety, because even though many people are dealing with lots of different issues, at the core, we all just we want to feel safe, we want to feel loved, we want to feel accepted. And in many ways, we want to try to repair harm we've done if we can. Um, but in the beginning, I know you can relate. Like at the beginning, it was just trying to like get through a day without going back to certain behaviors that I used to do, all the while, shaking and baking. Um, so for me, priorities are keeping it like I hate to throw it over to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but that I talk to my students about that all the time. Like, what do we need first? Well, got to breathe, need oxygen first, then water, then food, clothing, shelter, all the things, love, community. So I often will, when I'm spinning out on something that has little to do with just existing and surviving, when I'm allowing my, like intrusive thoughts to hijack me, my priority goes back to making sure I take 3 deep breaths, slow down my thinking, and recognize that all I have to do is just slow down and move through each moment. Because sometimes that's all I'm capable of is one moment at a time. So I don't know, that's kind of all I've got for right now as far as like the nuts and bolts of it. But I'm sure I have something else that I'll share a little later that I just remembered. But yeah, that's kind of what I got as my working definition of priorities. A lot
Yeah,
there.
the thing that's kind of coming to me is repeatedly is to keep it simple, just keep it simple. And the this is all kind of jargony stuff, but it it's working for me. So I'm is one day at a time. So um, in the day, I'd have my routine that I do first thing in the morning, and the priority for me is uh, the big priority in my earthly life
Mhm.
is to stay sober.
Right,
Basically, stay sober and clean. That's absolute top number one because without that, nothing else happens.
right.
And to cut to the chase, um, my the way of me determining what my priorities are is in that day. I ask God to show me them, and that's it.
Yeah, right.
It's that simple. If I'm not shown anything, then there's nothing particularly that I do. Because the other thing that I'm kind of getting my head round a bit is trusting. Once I've said, um, I offer myself to thee, I give my life to thee, and
Right.
is the next step after that is to trust. I'm saying I
Mm,
want to do your will. The stage after that is to trust now that I am doing God's will, whatever
right,
shape that takes. And that's when I feel like I can relax and let go the grip.
right.
So I just carry on with the day. Whatever the earthly demands on me for the day are, whether it's work or whether it's um, uh, things to do with stewarding this house and this land, or taking care of the animals, or communing with friends or family or whatever, is I'll just get on with the day and trust that because I've been willing that day, that one day, that God will show me the priorities, and the rest of it is out of my hands. It's like I can trust that if God wants me to go in another direction or wants me to prioritize this part of my life over that part of my life for temporarily or the permanent direction, that I'll be shown that. It's like The decisions that I make really have no are of no importance. It's just make one. Kind of, I've learnt that one. Where does a fork in the road take it? It doesn't really matter. There's no clear uh, um, guidance. Just take one then. Just do it. Just kind of show up. The the main thing for me with priorities is just keep facing the right direction. Just keep facing the right direction.
I
Um,
would, yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't want to interrupt
oh,
you. And I know you said we're kind of riffing. So, and if I don't say it now, I might forget because that's how my hamster brain works.
yeah,
Thank you very much for that. So I think what I was going to say is that, and that is beautiful, right? It's like, we're not going to be told exactly what to do. Wouldn't it be nice if we were just going to told, if you do this, that, and the other, your life would be perfect? Well, first of all, that's an impossible paradigm. I don't want it. Progress, not perfection. I don't want perfection because it's not attainable anyway. And when I try to think about it, I'm just going to wind myself like a top, which I can do just fine on my own. Incidentally, I think the thing that complicates, we're in sobriety, we're doing life, and then life starts happening. As you say, life gets lifey. I think where priorities can really get challenged is when you bring in other people, places, and situations, right? So now, and I'm going to speak a little vulnerably here that, as you know, I'm, some months now into my emotional detox and in recovery from codependency. And and I can speak broadly, but that partnerships, right? Whether it is just a family member or relationships, really relationships, whether it's family member, friend, business partner, but really, definitely, I'm going to focus on like a romantic partner. We Each person can have their own idea of what the priorities should be in that relationship, right? One thing that one good thing I've learned out of the mistakes that I have made, and I have made mistakes in sobriety, the one thing that I have not done wrong, the one great thing I've maintained is I've not picked up that next drink or other substance, right? So that's good. Doesn't mean I haven't made mistakes. Doesn't mean I haven't hurt other people or hurt myself in some ways as well, right? Um, but relationships, we can have what we think is the priority in our life on a given day, week, month, or whatever. And then we have the other person's idea of what the priority should be. For me, I've no idea when I'm going to say to myself, yeah, maybe I'll start dating again. Like that is the so far out of my mind right now because I'm on this beautiful journey, right? And I'll tell you, and I'll just say it's 6 months in, and in this emotional detox from being in a romantic relationship long term, and I feel like a person who's brand new in fit, like I felt when physical sobriety, but there's all types of recovery from all types of things. My feeling is this, and this is what I've learned as we're discussing. We share a common type of recovery program, but just speaking broadly about that is if and when I decide to start dating, or if I ever decide to seek partnership, that person, whomever they may be, will have to be willing to accept that for me, it's going to be higher power and then human beings, whether that's, partner, my mom, my sister, my family, you know what I mean? And then job and all the other things. But my higher power has to come first. And higher power, physical sobriety, of course, emotional sobriety and everything. So to me, if that list of priorities is, I can't, I'm not going to negotiate that the order of those priorities, if that makes sense. Because for me, that's the only way of life I know. It's higher power, sobriety, and then everything else comes after that. Not because they are any less important, but because it is because of my life today and the way I live it in sobriety and recovery that I get to have these blessings in my life, if I'm making any type of sense there.
Yeah. And does the fact that you've experienced that working in the way that the program working in the way that it has in
Mm.
your life over the last decade, uh,
Mm.
does that solidify that priority more? I'm trying to ask whether the fact that you've experienced that, it's not just somebody telling you that this is how to do it, or this is a, but that you've actually lived that for those years has helped you come to has it helped you come to that kind of hierarchy of um right, it needs to be high.
Yeah, absolutely. And because for me, and this all comes back to that, it's that ego thing, right? And ego, we talked a little bit about this earlier today, that when we think of someone with an ego, most young people say, oh, ego, that means like, oh, look at me, I'm so fabulous, Right? Whereas my sponsor or my person that I work with in this other realm that we're talking about, they tell me things like, to be careful of pride in reverse. And pride in reverse just simply means I'm going to put myself down. Oh, no, no. If someone says, Sarah, that was great what you did, great job. And I'm like, oh, no, well, no, it wasn't that great. Like, that is also ego, believe it or not. It took me forever to figure that out. So what I found is the reason my higher power has to come first is because it is a way to have that leveling of pride or ego, even if my ego looks more like, oh no, I'm not that great, or no, oh, no one will like me, blah, 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 all that stuff. So I am very grateful that in the last decade or so that not only have I lived this amazing life because of physical sobriety, but that amazing life has also come with a lot of challenges, not the least of which, and I know you already know this, but I don't mind sharing, of course, my cancer battle. I believe that having certainly physical sobriety, but having just a massive army of support of people who are like-minded individuals, but also a program that reminds me I had to let go. I had to really give my will over every single morning, noon, and night because I was not sure I was going to survive. And the duality of there were times in my active addiction days where I longed for death. And it was like having that death wish, right? That was almost like my priority back then. Like, hey, whatever, I'm cashing in my chips today. That I don't care. Whereas today, or at the time when I was battling cancer, I turned over my will because I didn't want to die. I really wanted to live. And I think that is sometimes that blows my mind that my priority today is not only to live, but to live a life where I can be of certain, like help other human beings to not feel the darkness anymore. I'm getting a little deep now, so I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, I'll just go off of that one. So I went over to the UK for one night only to go to a family funeral of my aunt, and got to spend some time with uh, cousins and aunts and uncles, but particularly cousins because there's about five or six of us that are of similar ages.
Hmm.
We didn't grow up in the same town or anything, but we had frequent visits to each other. So since we've been babies, we've known each other, kind of thing.
Nice.
And I was able to share with. I told everybody that my cousins that I was now 9 months clean and sober. That I was very proud of it, and through that. Um, I got talking to my to a cousin whose almost exactly the same age as me, a male cousin, Mark, who won't mind saying Mark. He's not going to watch this anyway. But uh, yeah, and he was able to share of his abstinence from cocaine
Oh, wow.
for I think he said 9 years now. And that
Wow.
was the main focus of his. We didn't get to talk that long because it was a very flying visit. So we had maybe an hour before we got in the funeral cars and went up to the service, had the
Right.
service, and then maybe 2 hours max after that. And then I had to leave to get my plane home.
Right.
So, and I wanted to try and get round, talk to as many of my family as possible. So we had like maybe a 10-minute conversation, if that, you know. Um, but the focus of what he was saying was after he said life just opens up, and that he spends his time and he hears so many stories, and me and him have really got to have a follow-up conversation about this of people who are in that position now. They're in active addictions, and
Mm.
he said, I wish that I could just tell them it's not how you think it is,
Mm.
and I was able to kind of share with him that when the point of my surrender was, that was virtually the only the alcohol
Right.
and weed were the only things that I had left, you know. So sobriety to me then looked like my life minus something, and because my life was so small, and
Right.
the thing that I clung to was the alcohol and the pot. Take
Mhm.
that away, and I had nothing left, And uh, if I could tell myself the me 9 months ago how life looks, it isn't like my frequent attempts at quitting smoking or something. It's kind of life without something.
Right.
It's like, just like he said, it's how life opens up. And the thing is, we can't give that gift to anybody. You can't give it to somebody. But what we can do uh, is just be there.
Mhm.
As people were there for us.
Yeah, that's
You know,
beautiful.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you for telling me about Mark. Sounds like an amazing human, and I I can't wait till we can get to process a little more of your trip. I will look forward to that, and uh, I agree that there's just so many times that you wanted, and that's why when you talk to anyone, whether they choose a more structured program of recovery like we do, or there are some people I know, like, hey, there's a woman at my work, all I'll say is just, they used to live life one way, now they're doing something different, has nothing to do with a program or anything, but they're just like, wow, I'm so much happier these days. And I say, good for you. That's awesome. Like, good for you. And the thing is, human behavior is such that we are such intelligent creatures, right? We have all these things, our five senses, we can do all the things, and yet we will do the same thing over and over and over again. Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting it to change, expecting a different result, and we just why? Because maybe there's just something we don't want to face. For me, getting clean and sober was just the beginning.
yeah,
And I think it's so interesting when I think about that I'm only 6 months into my emotional detox and my recovery from codependency. The reason I feel like a open raw nerve in that department of my life of sobriety and recovery, if you will, because still got the physical sobriety, emotional sobriety is getting better, but in that little room of my recovery, if you will, it feels like I'm in triage, like one minute I'm okay, the next minute I'm yeah, like I'm like a raw nerve, and you are aware that there was some, developments in that journey in my codependency and emotional detox journey in the last 7 days. And yet I'm able to prioritize and not be the same Sarah I was 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I am a very different Sarah than I was, God willing, approaching almost 11 years ago now when I found sobriety. But there's just so much stuff that has happened. But even in the last 6 months, I'm doing some things differently. The conversations that I've had and with people that are like-minded individuals, with the person that I care very deeply about, that there's a situation in my life right now, and um, that I was able to find a new level of my voice in the past 6 months. Mean, I guess, simply put, when we talk about priorities, I was able to have a conversation where I, for lack of a better term, stood up for myself. I advocated for my own feelings. And, in a ABA or applied behavioral analysis world, that means being responsible for my own feelings. Not trying to take care of other people's feelings, because that's codependency, but simply prioritizing my emotional health and well-being and safety. That's not an easy thing to do. I think like if you look at most people all day long, people say hello to each other and it's just sort of like hey, how are you? And most people say like, oh, fine, or yeah, I'm great, and inside they're just like who knows what they're carrying, what their iceberg is, right?
Yeah.
What I love about the program we subscribe to is that we are not responsible, right, for other people's feelings. We're not, we don't have to manage them. What we are responsible for are our own thoughts and our feelings and our actions and how we impact other people. Um, so yeah, I just feel like because, thank you for sharing about your trip there, because that's something you would never have been able to do 9 months ago. And I feel that it shifts from, it's not something that you wanted to do it, but it's not something you have to do. It's like you want to do it, and not only that, you get to do it today because you're clean and sober and you're in recovery. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm going on that whole story.
Yeah, it was
Beautiful.
it was an honor. My mum wasn't able to go, and she thanked me afterwards. And and I said it was an absolute honor to be able to do it. She said, "Thank you for representing our family." And I
Mm,
said, with sincerity, it was an honor to be able to do that for you, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, and it
yeah.
was with all I mean, it's like with all the kind of the autistic side of things that like uh,
Yeah.
you know the people lack of context. I don't the wake. I don't not the get not nothing to do with the travelling, everything fine, everything. But the wake
Right.
afterwards, where there is no context, you're basically in a room with a bar, with people offering me drinks. It didn't bother me at all. Oh, go on, you can have one. I've just been telling everyone that I'm sober.
Right.
It's not
Right.
man. But that wasn't. But it was the lack of context. So which
Mm,
I struggle with a lot. But we have talked about this before on here that um, the struggle with allowing ourselves to be loved. For
right.
me, I'll speak just for me.
Mhm.
The and I'm pretty sure that it was you one time saying kind of the route through that was self-love, learning to love self. And that's another thing that I've kind of was resistive to, because it's like, well, that's selfish. No, no, we should be caring for other people. We should be loving other people. It's not that kind of, I suppose, a bit pride in reverse. I'm not worthy of a. But what I'm finding is that the more that I do uh, self-love, as in just taking care of myself, recognizing that I've got some needs. My one of my responsibilities is to help my own needs to get met, to be met, and
Absolutely.
not being overly concerned if they don't match up with other people's needs. I'm not other people. Other people aren't me. I I have a good understanding, I think, of what my own needs are and things, but that it's not selfish, and
Mhm.
uh, to know that, like, to start meeting some basic needs, and that involves boundaries sometimes, and it involves
Mhm.
assertiveness sometimes. But what I'm kind of uh, starting to feel is that it allows other people to I've said this before, but it allows other people to relax. The
Yes.
more the more that I'm looking after myself, it means that I'm not kind of putting myself in the position where subconsciously I'm asking somebody else to look after me,
Right.
you know. And
Mhm.
even so, my neighbours, for example, people could see that I was losing weight, and she's very Helen's very always been very mothering towards me, and will always say, will say, do anything, even if I'm kind of texting saying, "Oh, I'm going to be late home tonight," but I'm still out working and it's dark, it's 8:30 or whatever. She'll say, "Call in here and eat some food," or the answer to kind of to most things is to come round for a meal, or bring me food, or
Mm.
invite me out for food or whatever, and to be able to kind of say, no, that's okay. I'm fine. I've got my, I do have
Food.
something prepared at home.
Yeah.
It's fine. Or um, where, and I was kind of thinking that was her all the time, but it wasn't. It was me, kind of putting out these vibes of, oh, I can't afford food or something.
Mhm.
Just like, but maybe it wasn't to do with food, but it's something that I was wanting help in some way, but not being clear about the help that I wanted,
Right.
and the the clearer I can be,
Mhm.
but first you have to identify them. That's
Well,
what this
that's
program's brilliant for, because it so helps it just bloody helps us get to know ourselves better.
well, and I think that that's thank you for sharing that, and it's so true because one of the reasons I did myself a disservice by, I got clean and sober, and I also don't mind sharing that within that first year, I really was learning so much about myself. And so in the second year of my sobriety, it was like, okay, I declared that I had figured out I'm not straight and made this all these amazing, like, sobriety and recovery is full of growth and revelations. And so it
Yeah,
was wonderful to have that experience and that epiphany of who I am and living in my truth. But what I should have done, but absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. I jumped headfirst into a relationship with a woman, and then there would be 5 relationships later. Here we are today, March 7th of 2026, and I'm 6 months into a journey that I can sit here and say I wish I had begun almost 11 years ago when I first got sober. But there's perfection here that I could never have created. Like there was a reason why I was meant to go through all of those things because when you're a recovering codependent, one thing I've learned, and this also a lot of people who are struggling addicts or whatever in recovery, I feel like a lot of us struggle with codependency as well. Not obvious, not all, but a lot, is that you mentioned boundaries. And we can be grown ass adults, excuse my language, and really suck at boundaries. And what I've learned is if someone is going to get miffed, to upset, or even angry for me expressing a need or setting a boundary, then perhaps what God is helping to reveal to me is that this person was benefiting from me not having any boundaries in the first place, or very little, or setting a boundary and then dropping it and letting them step over it. And I've done that countless times with many people in my life of sobriety and recovery. So I think that today, you know, I get to have so much of what I need work on shown to me. It is revealed to me through things that I see in other people, through my own mistakes or opportunities to grow, right? I'm trying to look at them opportunities to grow, right? And the thing I remembered I wanted to share with you that this is no joke, that if you look, let me brighten up my screen real quick. But this is actually, it's March 7th. Look at the title of this reading. It says
Yeah.
Priority. Priorities for today, March 7th. And really, it just talks about, in terms of recovery, like things can get really good, right? We put down, alcohol and other substances and things, and things start getting really good, you know? And so do we start slacking off? Do we say, "Oh, well, I don't need a meeting this week." And I don't need to, commune and get together with other like-minded individuals. And I don't know about you, I'll just speak for myself. If a whole week goes by and I have not spoken to a like-minded individual, I start to get the noise up here gets really loud
Mhm.
really quickly. And so I like to try to prioritize making sure that before I do anything else, when those eyes open up in the dark in bed, before I get up and start my day to go to work or whatever, I make sure that I connect with my higher power first thing. Because if I don't, I know me. And I'll try to make other things a priority.
Yeah.
Oh, do this, or what about this? What about that? Rather than starting with a nice, you know, fresh view of the day,
I
you know.
think in 9 months I've managed that maybe three times, a handful of
Mhm.
times. That my
Yeah.
first thought is, uh, you know, thank you for waking me. Thank you that I'm clean. That I've got it. I can get it close, but
Yeah.
usually my first thought is uh, the alarm clock, sorting the alarm clock out. And
Yeah.
second thought is, what day is it? Right. What time is it? Am I late? What have I got to do today? It's a what's on for a Wednesday? Right there. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Time's okay. I've got time. Now I'll start my little morning routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, on first kind of waking, first realizing that I'm now out of a sleeping state. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, three, four, five times in 9 months.
But that's amazing. And that's something that is to be celebrated because, when I think about, sometimes it does blow my mind that I have not put, mind-altering substances in my body for that long because it was literally my life. Like I like how you said earlier, like our life gets so small. Like I could not participate in life. I could not do it. And nowadays it's even worse because I just feel for people who are struggling because they can literally sit on their couch, pick up a phone and get whatever they want
Yeah.
brought to their door, and it makes isolation and the impending demise come that much faster. Or, it just breaks my heart, really.
Yeah.
But I also know that I've had very wise people remind me, like, you're not supposed to interfere in the spiritual growth of another, Sarah. And I'm like, nah, what? But what? But what if I just give them? Nope, nope. They've got to come to their own conclusions. Oh, okay, okay. But that's why I love that we continue to grow. And if I do put something ahead of my recovery on a given day, or even like this past week was kind of nutty. I told you I led a professional development, which ultimately went great, but I was so nervous. Then the next day I had to be observed by a host of people, faculty from a university, blah, blah, blah. These are things that I get to do. I get to do these things. And my ego was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a man. Not gonna they're gonna think I'm a whatever, bumbling fool," like, and it went as it was supposed to. Not perfection, but it went well. And for me, I was prioritizing my ego, even though it was, "Oh, I'm gonna suck and it's gonna be bad." Like, no, the priority should have been, are we breathing? Which I did do. Um, but to get through a week like that while also being just under at that point, 6 months, almost to 6 months into an emotional detox and recovery from codependency. And man, I'm telling you, I'm so grateful to feel all that like raw nerve uncomfortableness, like hugging the cactus, because it keeps it fresh for me. It's the same feeling you get when you talk to another person who's just kind of started their
Yes.
sobriety and recovery.
Yes.
So I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yes. In a small way. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love that it just that was just a passage about. I love that it was priorities today for the 7th of March. That's hysterical. Um, but
Where was that reading from?
I guess what I'll just say is that it's when we talk about our program, think of it as being a sister
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So that just to speak broadly about that. But what it really is reminding me about is that I must not mess with that priority list that I have of, God, my higher power first, then physical sobriety and emotional sobriety and recovery, and then everything else, mom, sister, family, at some point partner, whatever, job, all that, because the only reason I have those things and those blessings and a clear mind and a healthy body, so far, knock on wood, is because of sobriety and recovery and that connection. And also, the reminders daily that, like, just out here doing it, and I have to, that that waking up is such a gift, like waking up rather than coming to out of a blackout is, and what, no, but people who aren't like us don't get it. They don't understand why that something might seem so small and insignificant to them is everything to me. Everything. And to them it might sound like some ridiculous like Hallmark movie or Lifetime after school special. Like, no, it is that, like, I can feel it even right now. I can feel it like in my face, like I want to cry, like it just, I don't care that it's been almost 11 years. To me, that's just chronology. Like it, it just, yeah. Maybe it's because people that have been that close to death or even wanting death, longing for it, it's just so diametrically opposed. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I was listening to like a speaker tape last
mm,
night,
hmm
and it's quite a famous one. But he was describing his youth before sobriety, and just saying, it wasn't even that he wasn't scared of death. It was like that was the easy ticket. He had a harsh life, like a
Mm.
street gang life,
Mm.
and I really related to that. It wasn't, I'm not from that background or anything, but that
Right.
attitude that I had to life was I'm looking forward to a good rest, like a physical rest and an emotional rest and a mind rest. Is
Right.
that is for death. That's how I felt,
Yeah.
and more intensely so as I got older. Was kind of I was blasé about it. I was kind of like, oh, it's just because I'm not scared of death. But actually, it was things mattered so little to me, you know, that
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but that whole thing is. I'm now, first of all, from just a me personal point of view, I'm excited to see what tomorrow brings, the rest
Hmm.
of this year brings. I want to stay alive. I want to be alive because I want to see what's happening. And it's not saying that's how I'm going to feel every single day, but that's how I'm feeling at the moment, and how valuable it is, and how precious it is. And this isn't a prison. It's not something to be endured. Endured. It's a gift. I've been given this like real rare gift, and
Hmm.
it's a, it's not like it's a responsibility to live a good life. It's what makes it nice. It's what makes it good and enjoyable, and
Absolutely.
it's yeah, yeah, like a incredible turnaround. I still don't fear death. I'm not afraid of death.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
That hasn't changed, but I want to be here. I want
Mhm.
to be here. Just you know,
And you also now recognize so probably so very frequently is that people want you here. Not, I mean, we're grateful that you want to be here, but you are wanted. We do love you and we see the potential in you just as you see the potential in us. And I think that the more that we we get that in these like-minded spaces, what is such an incredible, powerful reminder of why I'm living this life the way I choose to live it is when I see people who aren't necessarily alcoholics or addicts or struggling with addiction, but their emotional sobriety is lacking because it just seems like everything is just really hurting them or they're struggling and they just can't cope. And it's a reminder, and I'm like, I know I can't fix that for them, and I don't want to. Thank goodness I don't have to. But it just makes me feel that much more grateful that I know that when I am going through really tough stuff, for example, when dad passed away, or the other things, relationship shifts and things, and life gets lifey, is that I know what to do now, and I know that I hear another little one-liner in my head from someone that I very much respect, and she says, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional." So
yeah,
true, so true.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that the more I remember to prioritize that, the clarity that comes with understanding that I can do hard things and I can make my way through difficult situations, from the annoying to the just bitterly painful, and then see on the other side of it, instead of feeling, resentful about that, like why do I have to go through this, or why did I, instead coming to a place of neutrality where I can say, "Oh, there was a lesson in this." And my priority may have been this, that, or the other I wanted to accomplish when the lesson turned out to be something even more incredible, which is why I often say when I don't understand why things are going the way they're going, and I may be meditating, talking to my higher power, and I say, okay, I know that you've usually only got three answers to my nagging questions, and you or what I want, and that is yes, not right now, or I have something better for you.
Hmm.
Mm, I like that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I like that one.
mm. I know I feel like I could this has been such a good topic because I feel like I we could go on and on and on about such a wonderful part of what we do, trying to kind of figuring things out. But we don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah, we don't have to have all the answers, but it when we talk about things like this on this kind of level that we get to do,
I know.
we get to do this regularly. Several times a week. We could talk like this daily if we wanted to.
Hmm.
It's all kind of there. It kind of I find this anyway, that the understanding and the being able to kind of take the teachings of God ultimately, but the program on board
Mm.
applied up, you know,
Yeah.
when there's more than just me involved, just me and a book, or me and I would never have thought that I would say that, is that I always learned, studied solo by myself in solitude. So did that when I was studying at uni. Didn't like doing the group assignment things, where you had to
Right.
do something as a group. Um, but very kind. If I'm sitting quietly at my desk for hours on end studying something, that's my kind of where I'm how I'm comfortable learning. Doing learning things by discussing them at this kind of length with uh, people who are learning the same things
Hmm.
uh, is a new experience for me. But it it expands it all somehow. It's kind of it's very different being able to hear other people's experiences of the same topic or the same particular life problem that they're going through, or just hearing other people's experience, even if it's something completely different to mine, is yeah, it's more than the sum of, you know, the
Absolutely.
the understanding on a deep level.
Well,
Perhaps.
yeah, and in that understanding, I mean, it's like I mentioned the word triage earlier, and it's like the reason it works so well is the whole idea of pain shared is pain lessened, right? And so in terms of when we think about when we're new into this, it's like we just we get to talk to someone and we kind of blah blah blah. I mean, we just vent it out, and that literally saves our backside from going, back into the active addiction. It's amazing and it works. And then after you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I'm not sitting there every single day just trying not to use, substances or drink alcohol or whatnot. So it's not so much that, but it is about the mental obsession of life, of all those things. And so as you said, when we talk to other people and we process, or you call someone and you talk for an hour about something that's really troubling you, because you don't eventually you want to prevent yourself from going back to those other things that used to be your solution to to, that prevented you from facing a problem or a core causing condition, that this program does help us to grow and does help us to do that really tough work of like, I really don't want to look at this. This is something from maybe my childhood or somewhere in my past, but wow, like when I do it with a group of people who get it, even though, like you said, the situation is not exactly the same, there's a great sense of comfort, isn't it? And no one's there to fix it for you, but to just offer that greater perspective and understanding. And you don't feel alone, right? We might feel lonely at times, but we're never alone. I love that, you know.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yes.
It is though. It is. It is mind blown.
Mm, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we wrap that up there?
Yeah, I think that was fantastic, by the way. I feel like we were getting in deep there. That's I love
Yeah,
it.
they quite often turn out to be quite deep, these recordings.
Yeah, no, I love it. I did have one sort of this is a random question about your trip. So, what is the time difference between France and the UK?
1 hour.
Oh, so that's not going to affect you too much, I would suspect.
And like the flight was 1 hour as well. So the actual kind of traveling there, it wasn't so difficult. It's the flying is
Right.
dead easy and very cheap. The travel to get to the airport
Yeah.
or the other side is the
Yeah.
expensive and tricky bit.
Yes.
But
Wow.
yeah, yeah, not a. It's more the psychological thing of going back to the UK. It's very very different.
Yeah.
Very very different.
And you did it. And you had a wonderful experience and
Yes,
showing up for your family. And I'm so happy for you. It's
yes,
awesome.
and with the added bonus of I can remember it. You know,
Ha
I can
ha!
remember it as well. There's no way if I'd have
Mm.
been asked to do that and for some reason I couldn't drink, I don't think I would have been asked to
Mm. Right,
about alcohol, you know.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, I can remember everything
it's
for a
fantastic.
while. For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is absolutely awesome. So happy for you. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for this time.
Yes, it was a privilege as always. I love digging in deep. Yeah, intellectually stimulating conversations are top notch. I love it. So thank
Thank
you
you.
again for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, until next time.
All right.
Uh,
See you later.
Later.